Good evening, Buffs. Welcome to Sko Buffs Live. My name's Colby.
And I'm Terrace Harris.
Last week featured one of the most electrifying finishes at Folsom Field in its 101-year history. Here to take us through that exciting ending against the Baylor Bears is Oliver Hayes from the postgame.
Is here for Sko Buff Sports at Folsom Field just an hour after covering one of the best games I've ever witnessed in my time here at CU. Of course, Shador Sanders linked up with LeJohntay Wester in Hail Mary fashion to force OT at the end of regulation, but it was ultimately Travis Hunter, a Heisman candidate, who forced a game-winning fumble at the goal line to beat Baylor in the first Big 12 matchup of the year. The Buffs faithful stormed the field in premature fashion, but ultimately it was perfect timing after the call was upheld. Big plays were the name of the game as the Buffs found themselves down 2 scores before halftime, before Amarion Miller came up with a huge 56-yard touchdown for his first of the year, making it a 1-score game heading into the half. From then on, big plays were made, as I said, and forced one of the best games of the year. The Buffs moved to 3-1 and face UCF next week. And as always, you heard it here first. My name is Oliver Hayes for Sko Buff Sports.
The Buffaloes were victorious over the Baylor Bears in a thrilling overtime finish by a score of 38-31. After being down 24-17 at the half, the Buffaloes would march back to tie the game up on a Hail Mary to end the fourth quarter and send the game to overtime. After a quick score from the Buffaloes, Cameron Silman-Craig would make a game-saving tackle on the 2-yard line, which would be followed up by a game-winning fumble forced by Travis Hunter. Hunter also led the team in receiving yards with 130, orchestrated by a 341-yard, 2-touchdown performance by Shador Sanders, as he remains the 4th in the country in passing yards.
The Colorado Buffaloes face off against the UCF Knights tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. The Knights have been off to a hot start to begin the season. They're 3-0, 2 of which have been major blowouts. The Buffaloes are straight off a thrilling overtime win versus Baylor, in which they made an extraordinary comeback. This game has huge implications. With a win, they can jump up to as high as tied for first place in the Big 12, granted that BYU and Utah lose. You can watch the CU game on Fox Sports.
As the Colorado football team takes on the University of Central Florida this weekend, there will be no shortage of excitement, as Big Noon Kickoff announced the show would travel to Orlando to cover the Buffs versus the Knights. After hosting the show along with several special guests, including The Rock and Lil Wayne in Colorado last season, there's no doubt the excitement for the Buffs will carry over. This time, DJ Khaled will be joining the show at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. The pregame tailgate begins at 8:30 Eastern Time. Hosted by Mark Ingram, Matt Leinart, Urban Meyer, and Brady Quinn, Big Noon will only increase the anticipation for this early season Big 12 matchup. As the Colorado football team takes on the University of Central Florida this weekend, there will be no shortage of excitement. As Big Noon Kickoff announced, the show would travel to Orlando to cover the Buffs versus the Knights.
Colorado's performance against Baylor wasn't convincing to the sports books. The top books have Colorado listed as underdogs heading to Orlando to face the Golden Knights. And as of now, Central Florida is favored by 14 points. This is the first game Colorado will be against the odds since playing Nebraska in Week 2. That line makes Colorado the second largest underdogs in the Big 12 this week, according to Vegas. Houston is the biggest underdog this week as they take on number 18 Iowa State, who is favored by 16 points.
The biggest story this week for the Buffs game against Central Florida wasn't football related at all. Rather, everybody's eyes were on the sky as Category 4 Hurricane Helen touched down Thursday night, with most public Florida universities, including UCF, closing earlier that day. Fortunately, the city of Orlando weathered the storm with minimal damage, besides a downed traffic light and scattered flooding. Colorado's game against the Knights will not be affected by the storm, which is currently dispersing over the Carolinas.
All this football talk has us thinking, with 2 seconds left on 2nd and 10 at the Baylor 43-yard line, what was the ESPN probability that Colorado football would win last Saturday night against the Bears? The answer to that question will be revealed later in the show. For more on the history behind the play that shattered those odds, here's Oliver Hayes with this week's Buff Banner.
The volleyball team opened up conference play in the new look Big 12 and it was a packed week for the golf and tennis teams. Stick around as we take you through it all after the break.
Last night, the Colorado women's soccer team had a tough battle against the Baylor Bears in their first game coming off a long road trip. A first half goal by Shapiro James put the Buffs up early. That was James's sixth goal of the season and was her first game played since being sidelined with an injury the past 2 games. The team is holding on strong as they have not lost a game since August 18th against UNC.
Prior to Thursday's tie against Baylor, the CU women's soccer team held the longest active win streak in the NCAA, with 8 straight wins. Unfortunately, due to the tie against Baylor, that streak has come to an end, but CU has still gone 9 games without losing.
Women's Buffs soccer will host the Kansas Jayhawks on Prentup Field for another Big 12 conference matchup. The Buffs are nationally ranked, holding the 16th spot, and are hoping for a win to move up in the poll. Last night, the Buffs ended in a dramatic finish with a draw, finishing 1-1 with the Baylor Bears. The Buffs are hoping to bounce back from the loss from the Bears and gain a win against the Jayhawks, as the last matchup between the teams resulted in Kansas defeating the Buffs 1-0 back in 2016. You can watch the game on ESPN Plus at 1 p.m. Mountain Time on Sunday afternoon.
The Buffalo's basketball teams began their practices this week, taking their first steps to an anticipated season. Both of the teams came off of March Madness tourney appearances, where the men's team made it to the second round and the women's team made a Sweet 16 appearance last year. This year, the Buffaloes acquired 6 key pieces in the transfer portal and freshman recruiting. 4-star freshman Andrew Crawford, pair of 3-stars Sebastian Ranchik and Felix Casares are joining the Buffaloes this year, as well as transfer students Trevor Baskin, Andres Jakomowski, and Elijah Malone. Stay tuned as both teams start their seasons in late October.
The men's basketball team looks to replace 3 NBA draft picks in Cody Williams, Tristan Da Silva, and KJ Simpson, all while they join an even better conference. With new transfers in town, Tad Boyle will begin the 2024-2025 campaign at the CU Events Center on November 4th against Eastern Washington. But we already knew that. What we found out this week is the Big 12 slate. 20 games of action tip-off for the black and gold on December 30th when CU hosts Iowa State. The Big 12 schedule is broken down by home and home series with 5 opponents and single games with the other 10 teams. Colorado will play a home and home series with Kansas, the former Pac-12 conference rival Arizona State, TCU, and UCF. The Buffaloes will host 2021 NCAA Final 4 participants, Baylor and Houston, along with BYU, Cincinnati, and West Virginia in Boulder. The women's basketball team is coming off a historically successful campaign where they finished 5th in the Pac-12. Now in the Big 12, Colorado begins the new season against Wyoming on November 4th, but their home opener takes place November 7th, hosting the Northern Colorado Bears. The conference slate will include 18 games, all on Wednesday and Saturday. The first comes on December 21st as the Buffs host West Virginia. The Buffs also host UCF, Kansas State, Texas Tech, Baylor, and several other new opponents. Unlike the last few years in Las Vegas, Colorado will play for this season's Big 12 title in Kansas City, Missouri.
The Colorado women's team was in action in 2 different tournaments this weekend. First was the ITA All-American Championships in Cary, North Carolina, where Aya Aelsed and Paya Rebic were competing in the doubles as the number 6 overall seed. The duo didn't make it far as they were defeated in the round of 32, with the first set going 6-4 and the second going 6-1. In singles, El Sayed and Mila Stanijovic were both defeated in the pre-qualifying round of 32. Down in Waco, Texas, the rest of the Buffs competed in the Baylor Invite. Over the 3-day tournament, the Lady Buffs collected 4 wins in singles competition, along with 2 victories in doubles. The Buffs in North Carolina will continue competition in the consolation brackets through the weekend. For the rest of the team, the next competition isn't until mid-October for the ITA Mountain Region Championship in La Cruces, New Mexico.
The CU Buffs volleyball team played 2 games of the Golden Spike Showdown last week, splitting the series with CSU for the 3rd consecutive year. The Buffs won the first game to a score of 3-1 and dropped the second game at home to the Rams 3-1. The Buffs are coming off back-to-back tough losses as they dropped the game to BYU on Thursday 3-1. The Buffs sit at a 7-6 record on the season and travel to Salt Lake City on Sunday to take on the Utah Utes at 1 p.m.
The Buffs will continue their conference play road trip on Sunday as they face off against the Utah Utes at 1 p.m. in Utah. Thursday night, the Buffs fell to BYU 3-1. Although the Buffs struggled in this matchup with their hitting as they received 23 attack errors, Anna Berlovich led Colorado's attack with 16 kills. But going into Sunday's matchup, the Buffs are hoping to compete with Utah's offense this time around, as the Utes are first in the Big 12 rankings in terms of hitting. The Buffs need to be able to take control of the game in order to secure this win. The game will be shown on ESPN Plus Sunday at 1 p.m.
For the first time in 69 years, the Colorado men's golf team was victorious in New Mexico this past weekend at the William H. Tucker Intercollegiate. This is the first team victory in a stroke play tournament for the Buffs since 2019 at the C.U. Simpson Invitational. Colorado started the final round 11 strokes out of the lead, but capitalized on the par 5 opportunities late in the round. Individually, the Buffs had 3 golfers place in the top 10 for the 31st time in school history, with 2 placing in the top 5. The Buffs hope to carry the momentum from last week into this week's CU's Simpson Invitational at Colorado's National Golf Club in Erie.
The women's golf team took 5th place in the Colonel Wallenberg Classic in Fort Collins on Tuesday. Sophomore Vanessa Go was the highest buff on the leaderboard, tied for 9th place. Unfortunately for Colorado, her score did not count towards the team score because she competed as an individual. The Buffs quintet was led by freshman Sydney Givens. She finished the tournament 2 strokes under par, landing her tied at 16th place. Freshman Ellen O'Shaughnessy also had a good tournament. She placed tied at 23rd on the individual leaderboard with a score of 1 stroke over par. Learn more about the tournament on our website at SkullBuffSports.com.
It's the opening weekend for women's hockey and men's baseball. We have that and all the latest on club sports coming up right after this break.
Who wants to do basketball? Who wants to do football? Who wants to do soccer? Who wants to do volleyball?
That's so sick. Did Christian just say that?
Videography. Anyone want to do that?
The Buffalo's club baseball team begins their fall ball season tomorrow with 2 games against the Air Force Falcons. First pitch is at 11 a.m. at Scott Carpenter Field, as the Falcons and Buffaloes will play 2 7-inning games on Saturday and 1 9-inning game on Sunday. The 2025 NCBA season begins in February, so these games don't technically count towards the Buffs' record, but they should be a great way to knock off the rust. Be sure to tune into the live broadcast on this Skull Buff Sports YouTube channel starting tomorrow at 11.
The men's club soccer team has a few upcoming matches this weekend. Team Gold will travel to Air Force Academy on Saturday at 12 p.m. and host the CU Team Black on Sunday at 12 p.m. Team White will have a bye this weekend, giving them time to rest up for their upcoming game on October 5th versus Metro State at 4 p.m.
The women's club soccer teams have begun their tournament play last night, with Team Silver getting their first win against Colorado State 1-0. The tournament will continue until September 28th on the CU Athletic Fields and Kittredge Field. Go support your Lady Buffs this weekend.
Women's D1 hockey kicks off their season tonight with a game against the Utah Utes. This will be their first game in a 2-game series, after which they will travel to take on the University of Massachusetts Amherst in a 1-game road trip. They finished last season with a record of 11-12-2, and with the new season upon them, they hope for better results than last year.
Men's D1 hockey is off to a hot start this year, as they currently sit at a record of 4 wins, 2 losses, going into their series against Colorado State. They're returning from a road series against the Utah Utes, one which they would split, winning the first game in a shootout by a score of 1-0. They would then fall by a score of 5-3 in the second game, which does mean they are coming into the series off of a loss. However, they responded to their only other loss this season with a 4-game win streak in the following weeks. This is the same type of production they will need in their coming series against the Rams.
The CU men's Division II hockey team takes on Denver University tonight at 8 p.m. It is a home game taking place at the CU Rec Center. You can watch the game on our Sgoutas YouTube channel.
The CU Triathlon Club secured the win in their first race of the season this past Sunday. Despite the torrential downpour and the muddy course, the team was able to beat out both Colorado State and the Air Force Academy's triathlon teams by a close margin. This victory is a strong start to their season and hopefully an early preview into the rest of their performances this year.
The CU cross-country team ran at Washington Park in Denver at the Roadrunner Invitational last Saturday, September 14th. The women's team placed second overall and had two top three finishers. Kaja Borelli placed second and Elliot Pribramsky placed third. The men's team races September 27th in Wisconsin, where 17 of the top 30 cross-country college teams will be participating.
Now it's time for today's Tweet of the Week. Today we're looking at Travis Hunter doing his dog celebration following the Buffs' close win against Baylor this past weekend. This was a shout out to streamer Kaisa Nat, who recently went live with Hunter over the season. The two discussed possible touchdown sellies and what a perfect touchdown it was to show it off with.
Now it's time to reveal the answer to this week's trivia question. In case you forgot, we asked you, with 2 seconds left on 2nd and 10 at the Baylor 43-yard line, what were the ESPN odds that Colorado football would win against Baylor? The answer is, drumroll please, 0.07%. LeJohntay Wester's miraculous catch truly proved the age-old saying, it ain't over till it's over.
What's up, Buff fans? I'm Balin Weisler bringing you this week's Varsity Sports Rapid Fire. Starting tomorrow, our football team travels to UCF as heavy underdogs trying to win their third game in a row as the game kicks off at 1:30 on Fox. Also over the weekend, the tennis team fights in days 8 and 9 at the ITA All-American Championships in North Carolina. On Sunday, our soccer team carries their 8-game win streak to Prentup Field to take on the Kansas Jayhawks, who can be streamed live on ESPN Plus at 1. And our action-packed weekend closes out with our volleyball team in Salt Lake City to take on Utah on Sunday afternoon. I'm Balin Weissub, and that was your Varsity Sports Rapid Fire.
What's up, Buff fans? I'm Kieran Warger bringing you this week's edition of Rapid Fire. What a packed weekend. Oh, I messed up. I'm sorry, dude. 3. Fire. What a packed weekend it is for our club sports. In just under an hour, your women's club hockey team will begin their season as they face off against the Utah Utes at the CU Rec Center ice rink. Game 2 of that series will be played Saturday at 7 p.m. If you can't make it to the Rec, catch all of the action live on our YouTube channel, Sgoutas Sports. Later tonight, your men's Division II hockey team will take on the Vikings of Augustana University at the Rec. The 2-3 Buffs look to even out their record against a Vikings team playing their first game in program history. Catch the action live on our YouTube channel tonight at 8 p.m. This Saturday kicks off fall ball for your CU baseball team as they take on the Air Force Falcons at Scott Carpenter Park. After going 2-3 last year, the Buffs look to start off their season strong against a 2-8 Falcons team. Saturday, we'll see a doubleheader with games starting at 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. The weekend will close out with one final game on Sunday at 12 p.m. Catch all of the action this weekend live on our YouTube channel. And finally, your men's Division I hockey team will play rival Colorado State Friday and Saturday in the Rocky Mountain Showdown. Your 2-2 Buffs look to dominate this weekend against a 1-1 Rams team. Game 1 will be played Friday night at CSU, while Game 2 will be played Saturday at the Ice Center at the Promenade down in Westminster. That'll do it for this week's edition of Rapid Fire. This has been Kieran Warger. Let's send you guys back to the desk.
That's all we have for you today, Buffs fans. Thank you for tuning in to another live show. Once again, I'm Terrace Harris.
And I'm Colby Wyatt. Thanks for watching, and don't forget, you heard it here first.